Hey my glam girls, welcome back to my channel. It's Chelsea, where we talk about all things glam and all things girly. I'm a beauty enthusiast that loves to talk about everything dealing with beauty and makeup, and today, you guys, okay, so a couple of days ago, I did my ranking of all of the foundations that I tried in January. You should go watch that if you haven't. I'll link that for you. And I was talking about my number one foundation, and I mixed both the Nars Light Reflecting Foundation with the Pat McGrath Sublime Perfection Foundation. And so then one of you all in the comment section was like, Chels, like, we gotta see a showdown between the two. And I was like, I think we should. So I put up a poll. Over 80% of you all said yes, do a showdown. So that's what we're doing today. We are doing a full day wear test on both of these foundations. I will show you application. Of course, I will show you what they look like in my studio lighting, in natural lighting, flash photography, and then share with you my final thoughts at the end of the day and who I think these foundations work best for. So stay tuned for all of that. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I truly do appreciate it. And let's get right into this video. So I have had a very long love affair. I'm talking very long love affair with the Pat McGrath Sublime Perfection Foundation. This foundation comes in a total of 36 shades. It retails for $68, and we get 1.18 ounces or 35 milliliters of product. I wear the shade M17, and that is described for medium with neutral yellow undertones. But I also, for the longest time, wore shade medium 19, and that is for medium with peach undertones. I do like this shade better for my skin now, but I love the peach undertone in M19, so I can wear both. I'll wear M19 more so in the summer because that is just a little deeper on my complexion, and M17 works really well for now. Some high points of this foundation is that it has a natural finish, medium coverage, it's hydrating, it's a liquid formula, it's vegan, and this is a long-wearing customizable foundation that builds from sheer to medium coverage in a wide range of universal hues that manifest the ultimate sublime skin standard. This particular foundation is said to work for all skin types, normal to dry and oily, and it has unique polymers that will provide lasting wear, ultimate smoothness, and a luminous finish. High purity pigments tested with amino acids. This is going to deliver enhanced wear, a creamy finish and feel, and controlled and easily buildable coverage. And then there's diamond core powder. This enhances the skin's radiance and luminosity and decreases the appearance of skin imperfections. I remember when Pat McGrath first came out with this foundation, she was like, this is your runway ready foundation, but it's also great for everyday wear. And let me tell you, the reason why this is one, like literally, probably, like if I had to get rid of all of my foundations, I would probably purchase this one first. And that's a pretty huge statement. I love this foundation because it is so flexible for me, and I think that term customizable is absolutely accurate. This was the first foundation out of all the foundations I had tried up until that point, so you know, years on, that I felt like I could actually throw on my face and be out the door, and it literally just looked like my skin just a little better. So just to show you what I'm talking about, let me show you a quick swatch of the foundation. So we have a quite runny formula here, and one pump is more than enough, but I'm just gonna blend it in to my hand, just some. And of course, like I have too much on my hand, so it's not gonna blend in completely. But looking at that and how it blends in, this just looks so beautiful against my skin. And if I'm gonna wear this on my face without applying anything else on top, I take about, I would say like 3/4 of a pump. I don't usually do a full pump, and I'll just, you know, dab it onto my face and blend it in a lot of times with my fingers, which is also great. I am not a finger applicator, but I do like that I can use my fingers with this foundation, and it really does blend well into the skin. I can use my brush, and in the demonstration, I went in with the e.l.f. sponge, and I just dampened it with the Tom Ford. This is the Hyaluronic Energizing Mist. I damped the sponge with that, blended that in, and I liked the sponge, but I really wanted to press it more into the skin. So then I got my Sonia G Jumbo Base brush, and that's what I finished off the application with. But it is such a customizable foundation. Now, when I first tried this foundation, I didn't like it too much because I felt like it was too drying for my skin. And what works for me when I do want this foundation to not feel as dry, I do go in with a hydrating primer, or I'll go in with some type of illuminating base like La Mer Hydrating Illuminator. I also love the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter underneath it. Or I will use my Lila Be Aglow oil, which I have here. Any three of those products really work well under this foundation, and it gives it a more satin-like finish versus the natural to a little matte type of finish. For this video, I went in with a very light layer of powder. I went in with the Laura Mercier translucent powder. I took my e.l.f. sponge, sprayed it with my Tom Ford mist, and then lightly pressed a layer of powder just right around the pores, in my T-zone area, because I wanted my pores to look just more flawless. So that's what I have as my base. I didn't put a primer on top of that. So both of these foundations are actually looking a little more matte than they could look. And that's because of the powder. I didn't add any type of like spray on top. I didn't add any type of like illuminator, highlighter, because I really just wanted you all to see the foundations for what they were. So I absolutely adore this foundation, and like I said, it is a favorite of mine because it is so customizable, but it really does look very flawless on the skin. I think it covers the face very well. And if you do have any imperfections, any blemishes, I do feel like it glides over them very nicely. It's not one that I feel will accentuate those unless you do have drier skin, which it's very important that if you do have drier skin, you're really gonna wanna prep your skin before adding this foundation. The very first time I tried this foundation, I actually didn't like it because my skin looked so dry, but my skin was not properly prepped underneath to be able to handle this. So that's my biggest tip. If you have tried this and you're like, it did not work for me, take a look at what your skincare looked like. Was your skin really moisturized? Did you put a hydrating primer on first? If you've tried that and it still didn't work, then it just didn't work, and that's fine. But if you didn't do that and you were just like, maybe, try it again. Not saying your thoughts might change, but it changed for me, and it is by far my #1 favorite foundation of all the ones that I have. I went and got my shade M19 so that I can do just a quick swatch comparison between M17 and then M19, so that if you're around my shade, you can, get a feel for them. So here is M17 and here is M19. So as you can see, M19 is just a smidge deeper. And like I said, it still works for me. I will still wear it. I'm just wearing M17 now because I'm not as tanned. Okay, let's move on to the Nars foundation. So this Nars foundation also comes in 36 shades. It retails for $49, and we get the standard 1 fluid ounce or 36 milliliters of product. I wear this shade Cadiz in this particular foundation, and it's for medium deep with neutral undertones and a golden tone. Now, I do want to mention that both of these shade ranges do look fairly warm. I think Pat's has, if I could say, more neutral-ish shades to them, but both of these, in terms of just the grid, like looking at the grid, they both look fairly warm. But that's not to say that there are not any neutral or cooler tones, just putting that out there. High points of this foundation is it's a liquid formula, medium coverage, natural finish, good for redness, good for dullness, uneven texture, and also good for dark spots. So it says this is an advanced makeup skincare hybrid foundation with a natural finish that quickly blurs and smooths while visibly improving skin's clarity over time. This foundation, it doesn't say that this foundation is suitable for a particular skin type. I think this foundation is suitable for all skin types, but I will elaborate further. There is biomimetic oat that visibly improves the clarity by reducing the appearance of redness. There's Japanese lily turf, which supports a strong skin barrier by helping maintain moisture. And then there's cacao, peptides, and milk thistle. This is gonna minimize the negative effect of blue light and environmental stressors. Lastly, this foundation is supposed to blur the look of wrinkles, pores, and texture and have an all-day long wear type of wear. So now this foundation recently ranked as my #1 of all the foundations that I tried in January. And this foundation is such a blurring and perfecting foundation. That was the first thing that I noticed when I applied it on the skin. I think this foundation definitely has solid medium coverage, and like I said, I think it is suitable for all skin types. Now, what I love about this foundation is that it is so light reflecting, and it's so like radiant without being dewy, without being oily. And I think even if you are someone who prefers a more matte finish, as you can see, like I mentioned earlier, the way that I'm wearing it today is in a more matte type of way because I set my face with powder prior to applying it. However, there have been times where I've gone in with a more hydrating base and I apply this on top and it looks so silky and it looks so satiny, but once again, not looking oily and not looking dewy. It just looks beautiful. And I really appreciate how this foundation definitely does cover redness. It does cover your blemishes. Like I have some acne bumps that are healing over here, especially this area over here. When I first applied the first layer of this foundation, it covered it well, but I went on and added just a little bit more in these areas right here, and I felt like it covered it really well to where I'm looking at my face from afar and I really don't see that blemish too much further, and I didn't have to add like a ton of foundation or concealer or color correct before getting this type of finish. This foundation doesn't feel heavy, it doesn't feel cakey, and it really does have a long-lasting wear. Going back to Pat McGrath, I forgot to mention that this foundation is more of a lighter to medium type of coverage. I think you can build to a nice medium, but it's definitely more light to medium, whereas I feel like the Nars is a solid medium to full coverage. It doesn't say full coverage in the description, but I think you can get a really nice like medium to full type of finish with this foundation. I love the shade of this foundation. This is one of my favorite shades in terms of all of the foundations that I have. Nars, Pat McGrath, and Tom Ford are my most favorite brands of foundations in terms of their shades for my complexion. And I just think it looks stunning. So when I initially mixed both of these, I was taken aback. I was like, can we say match made in heaven? So now looking at them on the face, because that's why we're here, to see which foundation looks better. Do we need both? Or could we do with one or the other? And I don't know yet, guys. So let me come in close so we can look at things. I've had both of these foundations on now for about, I would say about an hour. So let's come in, see what things are looking like, and we'll go from there. So coming in a little closer, we've got the Pat McGrath on this side, and then we have Nars on this side. And I really can't tell. When I first applied them on and I looked at them side by side, I did notice that the Nars foundation was just a little deeper in tone. And let me do a quick swatch of the Nars foundation so you can see what it looks like. So here we have Nars. This is M17 from Pat, and then M19 from Pat McGrath. They all look kind of different. I feel like you see more of a peachy undertone with the Nars versus Pat M17 looks more like neutral yellowish, and then the M19 definitely looks more warm. So we've got 3 different undertones. And I noticed the difference of the Nars side, you know, when I first applied the foundation compared to Pat. Now, you know, I've added a little bit of powder and I think they both look about the same. So doing flash photography, I think both sides look beautiful. There's no flashback, which there's no claim to, you know, be flashback, but you all know that is a standard of what I do whenever I'm looking at a foundation or a concealer. And then for natural lighting, you will see me taking footage of natural lighting with all of my makeup on, because when I initially started filming this video, it is dark outside because it is very early in the morning. So I wasn't able to get natural lighting footage without concealer and things like that on top. But you do still get to see what both of the foundations look like outside in the daylight. So I think both sides look stunning. I don't know who's gonna win, to be honest, because I'm loving both sides. Like, I'm looking at my face from afar and I'm like, I'll take Pat, I'll take Nars. I could take both. So I am very, very, very excited to see who's gonna look better, what are we gonna notice throughout the day, and all of that stuff. So stay tuned for all of that, and I will see you at the end of the day. We are back. It is the end of the day. You guys, I've had both of these foundations on for almost 12 hours, a good 11 and a half hours worth of wear. And I'm gonna come a little close so we can see what we're looking like. So remember, we have Pat McGrath on this side, and we have Nars Light Reflecting on this side. So let's take a look at the face. I'm gonna look up so you can see, you know, what things look like under my eyes. Here's my chin area, forehead, cheeks. So what do you think? So first off, I had a mask on today for 4 hours consecutively, and I was talking pretty much all of those 4 hours I was teaching. I'm back in the classroom, guys. So a lot of the foundations, and on both sides, you'll see some patchiness right here. Of course, you know, anything that was on my nose is completely run off. And right along here, things look worn off and things like that. When you saw my video of what my face looked like at the 8-hour mark in natural lighting, you could also see some wearing away of both foundations in that clip. So like, I see some patchiness here and here. This is on the Nars side, and we see patchiness right here. And that is definitely because I had my mask on, but more so because I was doing a lot of talking. So, you know, in terms of, you know, mask proof and things like that, I'm not gonna hold that against the foundations, because if you talked for 4 hours and you had a mask on, and I had a KN95 mask, so those already fit pretty snugly on my face, that is gonna rub foundation off. I expect it to, so I don't hold that against both of the foundations, but I do point that out just to let you know. Now, outside of that, I am utterly pleased with both of these foundations for how well they held up generally. And I say generally because more than likely, if I'm gonna be wearing these foundations, even if I'm gonna have a mask on, I'm not gonna be doing that type of heavy duty talking. And maybe, you know, one day we'll be able to have our faces out freely, and you know, you can definitely appreciate the longevity that both of these foundations have. I feel like we see a difference in coverage. So we have lesser coverage on Pat McGrath's side, more coverage on the Nars side. That was something that I've noticed, you know, from jump and all throughout the day. I saw more coverage on the Nars side. We also saw that in the swatches of the 3 foundations that I did on the back of my hand. Both of the Pats were sheer. Nars was quite opaque. So you do get more coverage with the Nars foundation just kind of right off the gate, because that formula is a little thicker. Not thick, just thicker. Both of these feel very lightweight still at the end of the day. I love how starting out at the beginning of the day, my foundations did look more matte in terms of their finish, but at the end of the day, you see radiance coming through, but my face does not look dewy. It does not look oily. Just right around here, like right here, it feels just a little sticky, and that's just from where my oils have come through. But everywhere else, my face feels quite natural. Like, it doesn't feel like there's anything on my face. There's no tack to it. And I just love them. If I had to pick in terms of which side looks better, why did y'all do this to me? Because now I gotta choose. If I have to choose which side looks better, y'all, this Nars. I gotta give it to Nars. I mean, do y'all see this reflection of light right here? Mind you, I have a no highlight at all, no illuminating, nothing. So any type of glow, radiance that you see on my face is just coming from, at this point, my natural oils, but also more so the foundations, because I don't have too many oils peeking through, especially like right here. This is just a light that is reflecting from the foundation. We see a little bit here on Pat's side, but we see, I feel a little bit more of it on the Nars side. And I think because the Nars has just a really silky formula. Looking at both of them from a distance, because that's what I'm doing now, it just looks smoother, even with the patchiness of the foundation that was worn off. Pat McGrath's looks beautiful. Now, don't get me wrong. Pat, she did not come to play. But because the formula is thinner with Pat McGrath's, I think we don't get as much of that flawlessness that we get from Nars. You guys tell me your thoughts. I feel like Pat's side looks very natural, almost skin-like. Like if I didn't have on powder or blush and I just had the foundation on, this just looks like my skin a little more perfected. Whereas Nars looks a little more smooth and it looks like more refined. And two, it also could be because in the Nars foundation, there are properties in it that are targeting the dark spots, the dullness, and the redness that we might have showing through our skin. So it's supposed to leave you with a more perfected skin. So with that said, I feel like the Nars is going to be the one that should look better because it has more properties in it to address those things on our skin that might make our skin look a little less perfected. Whereas the Pat McGrath foundation, it just looks so natural on the skin. Nars looks beautiful on the skin, but I do feel like Nars is going to look like there is some type of coverage on the skin, like you are wearing something. I feel like Pat McGrath just looks really skin-like. Especially at the end of the day. And that's one of the things I love about her foundation because it is so skin-like and natural. So in terms of like, which side I think looks better, I am gonna go with Nars because I mean, like I said, the facts show, at least in my opinion, Nars is if I could say the winner at the end of the day. But I love my Pat. I always will love my Pat. And like I said, the only difference is just the slight difference in perfection. I don't like to say that word. The slight look of flawlessness, that's a better word, on either side of the face. So getting into which one will work better for you. So I think both of these foundations honestly are going to be a surefire 2 thumbs up for people who have combination oily skin because the finish is natural, but if you just apply it to the skin with like nothing on your skin, both of these definitely dry down. When both of these dry down, they're gonna dry down to a very natural to a little matte type of finish. So if you have combo oily skin, you don't mind some radiance coming through, 2 thumbs up. If you have oily skin, I think Pat McGrath is really gonna work quite nicely for you because between the 2 formulas, I do think Pat McGrath is going to lean a little more matte than Nars. So I think people who have oilier skin could get with Pat McGrath, really enjoy it. Still go on with your mattifying primers, go on with your powders, but I think you'll really enjoy the finish of it. And then if you have normal skin, I think both of these foundations could work very well with you, but I would err and say for the Nars, you probably could go in with just whatever primer you choose, maybe set it with the powder, most definitely set it with the powder, and you'll be fine. With Pat McGrath, I would say, depending on how you like your foundations, go in with that designated primer. So for me, I personally love wearing the Pat McGrath foundation with the hydrating primer underneath it. It is my most favorite way to wear it, and I do have more normal skin. However, today I did manipulate it so that it could look a little more matte because I knew I was gonna have a mask on and I wanted the foundation to last as long as possible. So like I said, if you have more normal skin, you like more of a matte finish, use your mattifying primer. If you like a little bit more of a glowy, dewier finish, go in with your hydrating primer, and I think you will really enjoy Pat McGrath. And then when it comes to people with drier skin, this is where I think you would maybe err on the side of Nars over Pat McGrath because Pat McGrath, in terms of its formula, might be A, still a little too dry for your preferences, or B, you might have to hydrate more than what you want to. And what I mean by that is you might have to go in with a thicker moisturizer, then go in with a hydrating primer, and depending on how you are, you may not want to do all of that. So the Nars might be a better formula for you because it has more radiance to it. Now, it's not going to necessarily imply that you're going to have more moisturization, but your skin will be hydrated. But once again, depending on how dry your skin is and how you like your skin to look, as well as what you prefer your skin to feel like, that will determine if you can work with the Pat McGrath formulation or if you would prefer the Nars. And even with that, I haven't heard too many people who have drier skin that don't like the Nars foundation, but even with the Nars foundation, my assumption is that you're still gonna need to go in with your hydrating primers so that you can really get the finish that you want, especially if your skin is erring on the more dry side. But that should cover all of the skin types and what I think and how I think these foundations would work for you. Definitely let me know down in the comment section, number one, which side do you like better? Are we rolling with Mother Pat? Or are we taking Nars for the win as well? I want to hear it because this video was inspired by you all, so I want to hear the comments. Even if you don't leave comments, go ahead and leave me a comment. I want to know what you think down below. And if you do have a more oily skin, or if you do have a more drier skin, or a more normal skin, let us know down in the comment section how you like to wear it. Hydrating primer, mattifying primer, powders, what have you, because a lot of you all tend to be very helpful to each other down in the comment section, and I love that. I am only one person. I can definitely share with you my experiences, but I always love to hear from you all because you all are the experts as well, because you know what you like. So leave it all down in the comment section below. Thank you to the subscriber who gave me the idea to even do this type of video. Thank you all for voting for it because I thoroughly enjoyed it, and now I know. I'll use the Nars when I want a little bit more of a flawlessness, more of a fuller coverage type of look, but I'm still gonna roll with my Pat McGrath when I want that more natural, everyday type of look. So thank you guys for letting me figure out how I like either foundation. And of course, if you have both, mix them together. Match made in heaven. So thank you so much for watching this video. And if you've made it to this point in the video and you have yet to subscribe to my channel, I would love for you to consider subscribing and joining the Glam Girl Squad. And guys, that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in my very next video. Bye, guys.